This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional medical, mental health, legal, or financial advice. Please consult a qualified professional for personalized guidance or treatment. By listening, you acknowledge that the hosts and guests are not responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content.
Feel like a grouch, go beyond the couch. Share your confessions on the Aurora Sessions.
Hello, Aurora Healing Crew. Welcome to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch, where we take the stressors that come up in session and bring them into conversation beyond the couch. This is the space where real talk meets real life. Hi, everyone. This is Teresa here, the founder of Aurora Sun Counseling, a group private practice providing psychotherapy for clients in New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Today, we have Kimberly Rivera, one of our therapists at Aurora Sun Counseling. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
She has been a guest before, prior in our episode. I don't remember the number, but it was the therapist around the round table, I believe, something to that effect. She is an LPC, National Certified Counselor, and also has her master's in education. She is based out of New Jersey. She is deeply passionate about supporting, empowering individuals across the spectrum of human experience, including neurodiverse individuals such as ADHD, autistic, and neurodivergent adults, teens, and their families. And she is a self-diagnosed, late diagnosed, and exploring diagnosis neurodivergent person, would you say? Is that where you were going with this? Okay,
I believe so.
awesome. And this is what I find most interesting, and we will be talking about this on our podcast. She provides virtual therapy for gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, questioning, intersex, queer, polyamorous, asexual, non-traditional, and allied individuals in a safe, non-judgment, secure, and trauma-focused manner. So those are such wonderful words to say out loud, because a lot of people in the general public haven't even heard those labels and how people are identified. We also have Ariane, who has been co-hosting with us and also one of our LSWs here at Aurora, and who is in the background doing all our social media posts and helping with the podcasts. So thank you, Ariane, for joining us. Can you share a bit about your journey to becoming a therapist and what drew you to this field?
Sure. So I always wanted to be a therapist. It actually sounds kind of cliche, but I wanted to help people. But I think in high school, I don't know, I've worked with a lot of teens who I'm hearing nowadays, it's like, well, I don't know what I want to do, or maybe they had an idea of what they wanted to do, but didn't know how to go about it. I was almost like the opposite of that. I think once I discovered that I could help people and I could have this as a profession, I kind of dove right into it. And I was like, I'm going to look at different schools and I want to look at these programs. How do you become a therapist? How do you do this? So I want to say 15, 16, I was like, I want to do this. And I just went right into it after high school.
Okay. And were there moments of personal experience? Because I always say that the field chooses us instead of us choosing the field, because why would anybody want to get paid the least amount in the private sector? And listening to other people, because it takes a certain type of personality or life experience for that. So was there anything that helped you discover that this is what you wanted to do?
I think it was just something based off of my own personality. I think going back to the whole high school thing, I was usually the person that wanted to reach out and support other people. I think it was just kind of brought to my attention. I think somebody was like, wow, you're actually really good at this, or this is something that I can see you doing. And I'm like, oh, wait, there's a word for it. There's a job for it. I was only 15, 16. That's kind of how it happened for me, where I think it was always just something that I liked to do. So the fact that one, I could get paid for it, and two, it kind of feels more natural to me. I'm like, why not? It feels like a no-brainer.
Awesome. And then to be able to get paid for that as well is always, I I always find awesome because most of the time we're having fun with our clients and we get paid to do something that we love.
Yeah, I love that you always knew this is what you wanted. I think I was the opposite. I was running away from it for so long. You ran
That's
towards it.
true. I know. Aria, that hurts my feelings because I'm trying to convince my children this is the way, but they're running away
This
from it
is the
too.
way. It's hilarious. Well, Kim, you work with the neurodivergent and LGBTQ populations. What inspires you to work with this community, and what are some misconceptions that people might have?
That's a good question. I think for my inspiration of working with the LGBTQ community, I think it was just something about working with marginalized groups. I think people that, one, something that I personally identify with myself, and then also feeling like with things that have been going on, it just makes me feel like I need to help people who need the support, in my opinion, the most. So, in a way, a lot of the times from what I've heard with clients that I've worked with who identify in this community is that there's really no support elsewhere. So, if I could offer that in just an hour of my time, it does make a world of difference.
And to the point about there's not a safe space for them, how do you create that in your sessions?
Generally, listening, providing that reassurance and validation that a lot of the things that they are experiencing or feeling is not delusional. It's not I'm trying to think of like the actual word, catastrophizing. Like it's not something that's something that's just out there that we're creating ourselves. And I think that validation really does affirm what they came here for.
So I know that when you came to this practice, one of the things that I that we do, and I kind of fell into couples counseling. And when we brought up Gottman, you're like, oh, I like to do couples. Haha, this is I like to I like to do couples counseling. And you said, I want to do the Gottman training. Um, what are some unique challenges that you have encountered when you've been working with neurodivergent couples, which I really find interesting because had we known this back in the day, I think a lot of the times just being aware that one of us might be a little bit not neurodivergent can help with when we get in the stuck points with in conflict because it's like, why can't you just say it so that she feels heard or seen? And with someone who might be neurodivergent, that's the skill that they don't even know what you're talking about. So what are some challenges that you have faced?
A lot of it, what I've noticed is miscommunication, I think is a big one because I think exactly what you said. Sometimes it could just be mistranslated and received in a completely different way. And then it's like, well, now we're either arguing or having some sort of conflict over something that I don't even really fully comprehend. So I find that to be a challenge in some of the work that I've done. Another thing that I've noticed is I think it goes kind of hand in hand with the miscommunication, identifying like concrete versus abstract communication and thought. Whereas if we're talking about something more specific, like I have this expectation for you and I need you to do this at X amount of time for this amount of the frequency, that compared to maybe something abstract of like, I need you to be here for me, or I need some sort of support. That
Mm-hmm.
can sometimes be very misconstrued because a lot of the times we are looking for something that is more tangible. So when we're looking at abstract, it's like, okay, I can support you, but what does that look like? Because to me, support looks like that. So clarification, I think, is a really big thing that I try to really emphasize is I'm hearing it this way. What are you trying to tell me? Because this is what I'm getting.
Yeah. I think a lot of that in couples, no matter if you are
Yep.
neurodivergent or not, is let's define what support might
Mhm.
look like. Because one person might think, oh my gosh, I'm so supportive. And the other person's like, you're not supporting me at all.
Right.
And then, so a lot of that is kind of like being the dictionary to spell out what support looks like. What healthy communication connection interventions have you found that help like navigate that for the couples?
Right. So I think I've already mentioned it. Like clarification, I think is
Yeah.
something frequently use just because I think a lot of the times we go based off of the assumption. Our assumptions are not always correct. Sometimes we're going off something that maybe isn't even accurate to the situation at all. So clarification kind of eliminates that, where we're just trying to gain a little bit of a mutual understanding and being like, okay, I'm hearing this, whether it's a question or a statement. Am I being correct in this interpretation? And that
Mhm.
kind of opens that dialogue of, actually, no, I actually meant it this way. So it kind of gets rid of the whole assumption factor.
Okay.
We all see couples, so we know that they present a different challenge than individuals.
Right.
So, being strength based, how do you define success when working with couples, especially with this population?
That's a good
Mhm.
question
I always
because
try to
success looks
highlight.
different everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely try to highlight strengths. I think that's a big thing because a lot of times, especially with neurodivergent couples, I think a lot of times they'll come in and they'll have this issue and then it becomes, or it's framed like this really, really big issue. I don't know what's going to happen to our relationship. We're here because we really want to fix things. And then I'm listening to them throughout their intake, and everything, like at least regarding their foundation, it's solid. So I'm kind of thinking, I thought it was like really big. And I think that goes back to like this emotion regulation that I think is very prominent in the neurodivergent population, where when things are bad, things are really bad. It gets really emphasized. So when I try to go through my assessment and I try to relay what I'm getting, and I relay that to them, a lot of the times I'm like, there's a lot of strengths here. Like there's a lot of things we can work on. There's maybe certain things that we're highlighting that, yes, there are challenges, of course, but at the end of the day, like it's not like a make or break deal as we're presenting. And a lot of times that kind of alleviates that anxiety of like, okay, like this is salvageable. Like I could work on these things. It's not, detrimental.
Yeah, I agree. I think I see that as well. Like, it's just like a misstep, a miscommunication. Like, you're not that far off. You just need to like listen a little bit more. Like, it's not as bad as it seems. And so it's nice to provide that for them. Is there something specific that you use, like a strategy or approach that you find more effective with this population?
I don't think if it's like a specific strategy. I think, a lot of the, Gottman Method, cognitive behavioral therapy, solution focus, like they all, I think, apply. Solution focus specifically because that provides more of a concrete, tangible solution to what they're trying to work on. But other than that, I think a lot of it can apply to what they're presenting.
Great.
Okay. So now on to this, I don't even know what word to use, but it's working with excuse me, working with polyamorous couples. And I know when I was like working with Gottman and studying on Gottman, they said it's not that they're against polyamorous couples. They haven't done enough research with polyamorous couples to say that it can work with a purist of the Gottman method because it is based off of trust and commitment, which we know can be done with polyamorous couples as well. But for anybody who don't know what polyamorous couples mean, can you define what a polyamorous relationship is?
Sure. So, a polyamorous relationship is essentially when a partner or both partners are in multiple relationships. They are all consensual. It can be romantic or sexual. It's just more than one relationship, essentially.
Have you on consent?
And what I found as I learned through my clients really is it's not like it's an open relationship and we could date whoever we
Hmm.
want whenever we want. There's rules and
Yeah.
it's like we both agree to either it could look like we both agree to have somebody be in our circle, or
Mhm.
we agree you can have this other partner and you can have this other partner. It's not like an orgy all the time is what I think the general public assume it is, but it's very defined and specific most of the time.
Do you guys watch Emily in Paris?
Yeah, well, I don't, and now I'm worried because my daughter does. After
Well,
I said orgy, and you bring that up, so what is going on
I was
in
gonna
Emily in
say, like,
Paris?
Sylvie, the character Sylvie is an example of what you're talking about. She's married, but her and her husband are allowed to date other people, and it's very open. But go ahead, sorry.
Okay, well, that's much safer than orgies. Okay, thank you. Okay, I need to watch that now.
Mhm.
And we need to do the
And she's an
commentary like we discussed.
yeah, and she's an older woman, and she's very embracing her sexuality, so it's I think it sheds light on, like, how this relationship can look, so yeah.
That's
Watch
awesome.
it. Yeah.
So, with working with polyamorous couples, Kimberly, which you were brave enough to like take this on, what drew you to this area of therapy?
Interestingly enough, I think it just, like, fell. Like, that, I think, just kind of fell when working with the LGBTQ community and then also working with neurodivergent populations. It's almost like a Venn diagram sometimes. Like, it almost feels like it all I'm not and this is not to say, like, okay, if you're neurodivergent, you're more than likely to be in a poly relationship, but a lot of times they do tend to overlap.
Mhm.
So when I noticed a little bit more of that overlap in my own work, I just kind of made the decision of, well, I should be informed of the things I'm being presented with. So that's kind of how I fell into that.
Yeah, and now that you bring that up, most of the people that I know, 2 or 3, who are in polyamorous relationships are neurodivergent. So or have,
Mhm.
I guess, like, loosely diagnosed, like, neurodivergent. So that does make sense because, even though penguins and humans are supposedly monogamous, people, most of the mammals are not. So and there are mammals out there to get into sociology or whatever, anthropology, who are not, it's not like normal to have one mate for the rest of their life. So when you fall off the normal spectrum a little bit, it does make sense
Mhm.
that there needs to be more options and
Mhm.
not feel like shamed about it,
Yeah.
I feel. Because one, you're neurodivergent, you already feel different from everybody.
Right.
And then two, it's like, what's wrong with me that I want to be with more than one partner?
Yeah.
So polyamorous relationships are often misunderstood and stigmatized to that point.
Mhm.
What are some of the biggest stereotypes that you encounter and how do you address them in therapy?
So I think a big stereotype I hear is that, like, it's an excuse for cheating. It's an
Mm.
excuse to just have multiple partners and
Mhm.
be able to, like, I don't know, quote unquote, have your cake and eat it too.
Mhm.
I hear that a lot. I
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
obviously it's not true, but it's interesting because I see it more as, like, for polyamorous couples, they are the most communicative couples that I've seen, where a lot of times if they're presenting with certain, couples issues or challenges, what I hear is their communication factor is, like, solid. It's something that they check off almost every single aspect of the relationship. So a lot of times I'm kind of like, well, what do I do here in terms of the communication? Like, it's not necessarily a matter of, oh, I just want to cheat on my spouse and do whatever I want. Like, there's consent here, there's communication, there are boundaries that are made. So, those boxes have already been checked off before they even went to the therapy space in the first place.
Yes.
Wow. I like that you said that because I think, like, as long as it's consensual and long as we communicate, like, and everyone's on the same page, I think things should be okay. Like, we're all on one accord. I do.
I think part of the stigmatization is, I think, I don't even know the percentage, but the majority of the world are Christians, right? So
Mhm.
they follow the Bible, and in the Bible, it says like marriage and one partner. So I think it's hard to separate the religious aspect and morality to open or polyamorous relationships too. And I mean, that could be a whole nother
Was
podcast.
gonna say that next topic, religion and
Oh
sexuality.
I
my
was thinking
gosh.
that too.
Like huge. Yeah.
Debunking, Christian yeah, I see that with a lot of couples where they're, like,
Mhm.
uncomfortable in their sexuality or in themselves because it's not rooted in the Bible, so there's probably a lot of people that wanna live poly and can't because of their beliefs or how they were raised.
Right, or further scrutiny if it gets out to their friends and family and what they might think.
Oh, Lord. Help us all. Right, so you were also trained in Gottman, so I know for me when Teresa first introduced it, one of my questions and that I found in the trainings was, does this work for everybody? Like, is this just rooted in hetero white couples? Because that's not all that we see. And so wondering how you use it and applying working with poly couples.
Sure. So a lot of the interventions that is used in the Gottman method really do apply to any sort of couple. I think when it comes to, the art of compromise, trying to make sure that our boundaries are being met, dreams within conflict, and understanding, well, why is this important to you? How are we going to make our stances in the relationship? Having a solid, sound relationship house. I think it all kind of applies because it goes back to that foundational piece of everything is consensual. Everything, like, I want to make sure I'm feeling heard in the relationship. And I think that is something that Gottman highlights.
I agree with that. And I think
100.
you made a point earlier, but is there anything else that you want people to know about polyamorous relationships?
That's a really good question. I don't know why my first thought was like, it's normalized. Like I almost want to be like they're everywhere, but like not in that kind of way, but in a way where it's like everybody, it's normalized to the point where like, it's just around and it's not necessarily something that's like super out there. I think the stigma really does create this like negative connotation to it. But honestly, like there's more and more people who do identify as poly and it's not a bad thing.
Question about, and maybe this is with rumors or stereotypes or myths. You know the whole pineapple thing? Like, have you
Yeah.
heard of the pineapple thing? Is that like a like an upside down pineapple or something means that they're in an open relationship and like to let other people know, like if like they can engage, like because they're in an open relationship? Is that like, excuse
I
me,
hear that
a real
more
thing?
as I hear that more as like a stereotype. I don't really hear that as like something that I mean, I could be wrong, right? Like I deal with like a small demographic of poly couples. It could be
Mm-hmm.
different depending on the area, but what I am hearing is that that's more of a stereotype. A lot of times people can find other partners through other connections or online, on the internet, through social media
Mm-hmm.
or whatever the case is. Like for it's not as indirect, I think, with the pineapple of like just showing like, hey, we're an open couple. Maybe in public, I think the stereotype is like on vacation or on cruises. Like
Mhm.
that's kind of where they show it because
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to just tell people. But I think, in our regular day to day, it is just easier to find different communities that and can make those connections rather than
Mm-hmm.
like it being more discreet.
I'm wondering if people are more open about their wants to be in a poly couple, would this limit or decrease cheating?
Hmm.
Or are they not correlated?
I think that's a
Yeah,
great point.
that is a great point.
Because I think in general, we work with so many different people and we know they tell us their deepest thoughts and feelings. And a lot of the time, the work is why don't we have a conversation with our partner and see where they're at? And because it looks and feels like you two might be on the same page, but that conversation is so hard to have because of the stigma, because of what if the other person, like I think it
Mhm.
is maybe a great premarital question to have in premarital counseling, you know?
Yeah, that is a good question. I haven't pre-marital
Yeah.
If we at 50 years old get sick of each other, can we talk about this in a safe manner?
Yeah, that's such a
Right.
therapy. Kim, for the future therapists out there who might feel unsure about working with poly couples or non-traditional relationships, what guidance and advice would you give them?
Especially for those who are interested in couples therapy, I would just say let it come to you. If it presents to you in that way, take it as it comes. I think one of the biggest things I hear from poly couples who come to me is that sometimes when presented to other therapists, that maybe it is kind of based on personal opinion where it's almost like I don't want to say scrutinized, but it's almost discouraged in certain therapy sessions because it's like, oh, well, we should be monogamous. Why are we looking into other partners? So I guess what I would say is, take it as it is. If it's coming with mutual understanding and respect, I don't think it's necessarily a gateway for cheating. It's something that I think could be more open if we're open.
Mhm.
So, speaking of being open, I remember having, as we age and grow and we have different clients, I have had moments where I'm like, thank goodness I am an almost 45-year-old mom talking to this young 20-something-year-old male, because if I had to talk to him when I was straight out of
Mhm.
like master's school or whatever, I would not be able to talk. Like, personally, I would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable. I can't talk about this." So how do you work on your comfort level when talking about this very sensitive, delicate, stigmatized topic with couples?
If I'm being honest, it's probably desensitization. I think because of my own experience, I think going back to the very beginning where I said I wanted to fall into therapy and I just went right into it. I went to school very young and I finished my bachelor's degree, went straight to my master's. So when I graduated and had everything down pat, like I was still in my early to mid 20s. So I think because of that, I already had this, like, I don't want to say experience, but like this openness in my internship to kind of take couples, take different things. In the beginning of your licensure process, you are just kind of thrown out there. And I think
Mhm.
for me, I kind of took it in, and going back to the whole like scrutiny of it all, if you're being presented with something, I just kind of learned to like meet the client where they're at. And if that is something that's being presented to me, then, not necessarily keep it blank and neutral, but really just come from an understanding of like, okay, you're presenting this to me for a reason. And if I were to have some sort of reaction or emphasis on what was being presented, then that could really make or break the trust of that thing itself. Am
Right.
I a safe enough person to share that with? And I think with that experience that I've had leading up to this moment, I think I just kind of learned that, like, one, I've had the exposure from maybe a younger couple or from a couple that is just navigating this. And, for being my age now, I mean, I'm not that much older, but I take it as like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like it's so weird to hear, like, oh my gosh, I'm like a professional, but I am because I have the experience. And I think a lot of times it's like, I don't know, a duality. I feel like I'm going on a tangent here.
No, I would stop you if I thought you were going on a tangent. Now I have a what do you mean you finished school early? Are
Well,
you
I
are
didn't
you
finish.
Doogie
Well,
Howser? Do
so
you
I
know who
didn't.
Doogie Howser is?
I do.
Probably not.
I didn't know. I
You don't know
didn't
who Doogie Howser is?
know. I mean, I just finished school, like, so
You just went straight
I
through. I did the
I
same
just
thing.
went straight through. My
Okay.
birthday's in July, so technically I'm, like,
Okay.
the
So you're
youngest in
you're
my class.
younger. Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, like, I remember going into the field and, like, being, like, 25 and people were being like, "Oh my gosh, you're only 25."
Yeah.
Like, just starting doing, like, my internship and stuff. Like, I'll see teenagers and they're just kind of like, "Oh, what do you know?"
Yeah,
And I'm
I
like,
think
"I
that's
do know."
Yeah. No, that I think that's why we start with kids, right? And
Mhm.
teens growing because then we feel like, okay, they'll at least take us seriously. And they say our youth does work against us in this field, whereas hairdressers, the younger you are, you're probably like more valued.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, all the stereotypes. So
Right.
you need to look into Doogie Howser. I feel
That's
so old now.
hilarious.
I'm just happy that Ariane knows who I was talking about.
Yeah, but I did the same thing. My birthday's in October. I went straight through, and I remember my internship working with an adult woman, and she was like, "What are you, 12?" I was like, "Actually, 22." Yeah, but I do know who Doogie Howser is, so
Now I take it as a compliment because now that I'm almost 45, I'm like, I'm actually 45. They're like, "What?" I'm like, "I know. Thank you." So I take it as a compliment. But, how do you navigate your own biases and societal assumptions to provide the best support for your clients? And that's assuming you have I mean, we all have biases, but, like, so how do you navigate that? Especially
I
when we're green
Yeah.
to it, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of, like, how to conceptualize it because I have it in my head, but I'm like, "How do I put this into words?" I
Mhm.
think for me, when I'm, like, sitting in the chair trying to be, like, a professional, yes, I have my biases, but I'm like, "Therapist Kim doesn't have this right now." Like, Therapist Kim has a person in front of me that is coming to me for help, for something that maybe I may or may not personally agree with, but at the end of the day, like, it is a problem to them. It has nothing to do with me. And I think that's kind of my own way of distinguishing that. Like, even if I did have some sort of bias, it's not about me. Like, I shouldn't have to make it about me.
And that's so important in, like, supervision and when we're
Mhm.
doing stuff. and for our clients to hear, because we wouldn't want them to not share something, whether it's about sexuality, politics, or religion, because they're afraid of our own biases. Because it's true even with doctors, right? Like, first do no harm, and we are sitting in a position where we can harm. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah, switching gears to social media a little bit. So, Kim, you
Mhm.
have an online presence. How do you think building a therapist brand online can impact future clients and representation of the field?
I think it's I'm trying to think. It's definitely something that can be used for like marketing, even though I don't really do it for marketing. I think it's more for like just exposure of this is what I do. Cause I think the professional marketing and providing our experiences and bios, like that's one aspect I think could be very beneficial for the marketing process. But I think the other side of it is really like, who are you as a therapist? I think a lot of clients, when they start with a new therapist, they're like, well, what am I going to get? You know, sometimes they can present something on paper and they don't really realize, like, okay, when you're sitting face to face with someone, what are you getting? It might be very different. And I think allowing myself to have a little bit more of like an online presence shows a little bit more of my personality, shows a little bit more about like what I find humorous or what I find interesting or important to talk about in therapy. I think is something that might answer questions already and might have a client feel more comfortable reaching out.
Yeah, it shows the human side, but I also think there's a lot of no shade to Mel Robbins, but there's a lot of people who aren't therapists putting information out there. And so to have like the information coming from an actual therapist and then you're showing your personality, like, yeah, someone's scrolling, like, oh, this girl actually knows what she's talking about. I want her to be my therapist.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. It's Go ahead, Teresa.
No, it leads. So I'm just going to put, even though I am all for all of that, but the supervisor's twist on it, right? Because we talk about the social work ethics and all this stuff. And so all the old school people are, not that I'm part of that, but I'm kind of like in the middle of that, right? Like from the beginning of social work and the new ones. And so we come from a place of like, Freud, let's say Freud, way back then, because that's like the start of how therapy developed, is to be a place where the clients don't have to worry about us and our thoughts and how we might judge them or how we might. So if they know certain aspects of us, that might change what they might share, back to the biases part. But I understand both, because some clients might want to find a therapist like-minded so they understand, just like some might want a person of color or Black therapist or an Asian therapist or someone who likes hair in different colors or, or neurodivergent. Yeah.
Honestly, I've gotten
Yeah.
responses like that too about my
Yeah.
hair. I think I've
Yeah.
made content about like, oh, like, yeah, I can present professional, but I also present like this. And a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, actually, I'd feel a lot more comfortable that way. So there's usually a therapist for everybody.
Right. So that leads to Ariane's next question.
Yeah, finding you got to find the balance because obviously we don't want to overshare and then it's like
Mhm.
strange, a strange
Mhm.
boundary. So, is there advice that you would give to like therapists that are listening or that want to start an online presence? And how do you personally maintain those boundaries of what to share, what not to share, still being approachable but professional?
I usually just go by the idea of, well, if you wouldn't say it in a session, you wouldn't say it to your colleagues, you probably shouldn't say it on social media. Just like that, literally.
Yeah.
We tend to feel comfortable on social media. We'll share very personal things about ourselves, which I understand if it was more in a personal account. But when we're trying to present ourselves as professionals, we also have to conduct ourselves as such. And I think with that being said, it kind of has to be the same across the board, whether it's with your colleagues, with your clients, especially, right? How we present ourselves as therapists should reflect on how we present ourselves on social media.
Hmm.
So that I love that as like a kind of like a safeguard as to what to share. The other side, and this is just like for discussion, I'm just thinking about what people might say, is that the rule of thumb is we only share if, like, to the specific client, if we think it might help with whatever it is that they're talking about, but not in a way of like, this happened to me and I came through. So you will too, because that's just putting a lot of pressure and we're all different people. So, how do we balance that as far as like, because when we are putting it on social media, it's to whoever versus specific to the client that might be helpful to them.
That's a good point. I don't know about you, Kim, like, but when I put it out there, my mind, no one is seeing it. And then I had a client say, like, "Oh, I saw your page," and I was like, "People do see me," then it was like, "Wait, like, people can see this?" So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I think about it that way, but I know my style isn't to be like, anxiety is da 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 da. Like, so I don't want to sound like a encyclopedia, but I want to like be motivational. And I think that that's more of like, how do I make this also funny and lighthearted and motivational and show different sides of who I am, but not be too much about who I am, not be too preachy either,
Right.
and still be approachable that, like, if I was looking at it and I was looking for a therapist, I'd be like, "Okay, this might be somebody I could work with."
Yeah, totally
No,
agree with that.
that's all great points. I love this discussion. And yeah, Ariane, your personal page does come up on my For You.
See? See?
I love it. I mean, no, I try not to watch it, because I can stalk. I'm not. I mean, I joke about being a stalker. I'm really not. But we're all curious minds. But no, it's fun. The thing that keeps I already saw the video, but it keeps popping up with you at the Eagles game in
Oh,
California.
birds.
I was like, that's so nice. She got to go. Uh, um. Okay. So the one thing that we love to talk about is self-care and how to take care of ourselves as providers. So what does self-care look like for you as a therapist?
As a therapist, it's gonna sound super therapy speak, but like I know what I mean when I say it. It's something that nourishes the mind, body, and soul. But I think what I mean by that is more activities that really call to those things, whether it's, for the mind, it could be reading, it can be music, it can be something that is regarding art, something that is regarding calm or expression. Body could be physical movement, it could be yoga, it could be Pilates, it could be whatever the case that gets your body moving. And soul could be something that's super personal. It could be mutual connection, it could be quality time. I think, I like going through that train of thought because then it's something tangible where it could also be however we choose. It can be more like personalized to the person.
We talked in the therapist roundtable about getting our nails done. So can't sit still in the nail salon.
Still nothing.
So is that one of your non-negotiables, or do you have other non-negotiables for self-care?
Getting my nails done? I
Yeah.
would say that is more of a non-negotiable. I got them done this week. I do enjoy it. I think I probably mentioned it in the last episode too. Like I've been going to the same nail tech for years, so it kind of is more of a self-care because it's like quality time. I'm chatting with someone that I'm familiar with for so long. I enjoy getting my nails done. It's a bit of self-expression because I get to choose what design is on my nails. So yeah, I would say that's a non-negotiable for me.
Good one.
Okay. Awesome. So, I mean, you did mention some of the things that you do, the mind, body, and soul. But outside of that, do you have hobbies that you practice to help you recharge? Like a
Yeah.
hobby, not just to nourish yourself.
Does Pilates count as a hobby?
Yeah.
Guess so. Yeah. I love that you do. You guys make me want to go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, no, I started that last year and it just became more of like, yeah, a hobby because I've been going there more consistently. I've gone to the
Mm,
same local studio. They all know me. There's more
yes.
of like a community over there, so it doesn't really feel more of like an obligation or like a task, an objective that I have to do. It's more of like, oh, I get to go and I get to see everyone and I get to
Mm-hmm.
move my body as well. Like it's really nice.
Same.
It is nice. And as I get older, I want to meet new people less and less. So, like, the more that I don't have to, like, meet new people, the better it is.
Mhm.
So, that's awesome.
Okay.
I know I sound awful.
Yeah, it's like,
Hey, you know what? my age group all understand what I'm talking about. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our podcast. And thank you so much, Kimberly, for sharing and teaching us about poly couples and just what you do in the therapy room and answering all our questions. And thank you, Ariane, for joining and helping move the conversation.
I think
And
it's a great
I will see you guys soon.
Yeah. Thank you
See you
for having
soon.
me. See you soon.
Before we go, Aurora Healing Crew, take a deep breath like you're soaking in sunlight. Warm, steady, grounding. As you move through your day, check in with your gut. Notice how you feel around others. Your energy is precious. Protect it so you have the strength and light to do what really matters to you. Because life is hard, and we're getting through it together. Thank you for listening to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch. Visit our website at aurorasuncounseling.com to learn more. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Just search Aurora Sun Counseling. Got questions or topics you'd love to hear us cover? Email us at info@aurorasuncounseling.com or drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you.